there. Welcome to the Ebon Hawk Podcast, your source for Star Wars news and all things Knights of the Old Republic. Spoiler alert for the Knights of the Old Republic series and the Star Wars films, TV shows, and all other media. This is where the fun begins.
All right, so next week we are going to announce the new co-host of the Ebon Hawk podcast. It'll be a familiar voice. Get your questions ready. We'll do a fun introduction episode, and it'll be a Q&A, and you'll get to know the new co-host better. So this episode might be a little bit shorter, but we'll make up for it in the future. And before I move on to talking about the new Funko Pops, I just wanted to mention Patreon. The link is in our Instagram bio, or you can find it at www.patreon.com/Ebon Hawk Podcast. And thank you, Seymour Dover, for joining the Ebon Hawk crew as a Jedi Padawan, and thank you to Minhaz for joining the Ebon Hawk crew as a Jedi Padawan. Nikki Dog has continued to support us on Patreon and increased their pledge to become a Knight of the Old Republic, and we are always incredibly grateful for your support. It means a lot to us, and it helps us deliver more Ebon Hawk podcast content. And without any further ado, let's move on to talking about the Funko box, Star Wars Gaming Greats, only at GameStop. And as I said, it'll be a GameStop exclusive, and it will be $29.99 US. And speaking of the US, Plex Armory says they are not available outside the US, so I'm definitely not excited, mad face. And I'm sorry, it's unfair. There's KOTOR fans all over the globe, and I think Star Wars and GameStop should deliver. So I'm sorry about that. Kind of the tagline for this Funko box is, wield the power of the Force in the Star Wars Gaming Greats box. Revan and Bastila Shan face off as pop vinyl bobbleheads. You'll also receive an enamel keychain featuring both characters, an enamel emblem patch, and a two-sided Alliance lanyard. Vinyl bobbleheads are approximately 3.75 inches tall. So when the description says face off, I kind of wonder if this was originally going to be Darth Revan and Bastila Shan. The keychain does feature Darth Revan, not the Jedi Revan, so that's interesting. And maybe there was supposed to be the Bastila Shan Funko Pop already, and maybe this was going to be Jedi Revan and Fallen Bastila Shan, or Bastila Shan Sith Apprentice. I'm not sure what they would say, but it's just interesting that it says face off. So the logos for the Jedi and Sith are the SWOTOR Jedi and Sith logos. So they're kind of anachronistic logos for the era, but I don't think anyone's going to make a big deal out of that. So it's a nice box and a lanyard and patch, and when I saw this announcement, I was so happy because I've been, waiting for the Bastila Shan Funko Pop forever, because I'm like, Revan's cool, but you know what, there should be a Bastila. The Malik Funko Pop was interesting, it grew on me over time, because I bought it for the giveaway, so it was at my house for a while, and I was like, oh, it's kind of cute looking with its weird eyes and jaw, but I think Bastila and Revan translate to Funko Pops better than Darth Malik, and I think that KOTOR has a lot of characters that could translate well to being Funko Pops, and it's nice to get more of the female Jedi representation. So, Astrodroid asks, if there was going to be another one of these packs, which two characters do you think would be in the box? And which two characters do you wish would be in the box? And for wood, I would probably say would be HK47 and T3M4, because HK47 is probably one of the most popular characters from the game. And I could maybe see an argument for Mission and Zalbar, but I could also definitely see Cartho Nassi and HK47. It's interesting because I'm not quite sure, the way some people describe Karth, like, he's an unpopular character, but I'm like, I think everyone is pretty much on board for Cartho Nassi. He has a distinctive, like, orange jacket, and I think he would be a good fit for a Funko Pop. I think he and Bastila have, like, probably the most iconic designs in KOTOR, like, character designs, so what I'm expecting is at least an HK47, Cartho Nassi, or T3M4 in a future pack, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Mission in Zalbar. And then I wish for all of them, honestly, like, I run a KOTOR podcast, like, I'm not gonna turn anything down. But I think that the ones I would wish for would be definitely Cartho Nassi and a Sith Bastila Shan. That would be cool. And one that I don't think will happen, but would be interesting to see, is Jedi Malik. And one of these days, maybe I'll have to have Ironic Designs maybe design Jedi Malik as a fan cast that I would have for Malik, that I don't know if the actor would be able to pull it off, but it would be kind of an intriguing design, and it would be fun. But I'd also want a Funko Pop of the Ebon Hawk, like the ship. I think it'd be cool. It's kind of like a ye old Millennium Falcon. So I mean, I think we discussed this in episode 2, but the Ebon Hawk means black hawk. Ebon is kind of a different way to say, it's like comes from the word ebony, so it's like black hawk, and it's kind of like meant to be a step down from Millennium, like shining, and Falcon, hawk, so black hawk, and it's just the name of the ship that Revan and the Exile use in KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2, and I think it has a great design, a great name, and it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time, maybe even doing prep for episode 2 of this podcast, to learn that Ebon meant black. Like, I thought it was a made-up Star Wars word. I'm like, cool, it's a made-up name, Hawk, but that's where I am. So that's my journey. So I'm thinking what would happen is the distinctive characters and iconic designs of the era. You don't want it just to look like any other Star Wars character. But Star Wars Funkos and toys definitely favors Sith and masked designs. So what I'm kind of expecting is for them to jump to KOTOR 2 and just do a Darth Nihilus, Darth Nihilus, maybe Darth Sion and Kreia, but we'll see what happens. Kind of getting more specific to the Bastila Shan Funko Pop, this Funko Pop is number 429, and it doesn't look like Rey, even though they're both British brunettes, so I'm glad that they've kind of differentiated them, even though they both have yellow lightsabers, The hair looks great. Like, honestly, I don't understand how Bastila's hair works in KOTOR. Like, I don't know how long her hair is, how she gets it to be in that, like, kind of position, but she's the only person besides maybe Harley Quinn that can pull off pigtails without looking like a child. Like, it's hard. And I noticed that there are silver accents in the hair and the belt. I think that's kind of something that Funko added just to kind of like have some more color, so it looks good. And I think, like I've said, like Bastila and Karth have the best designs for their costume in KOTOR, and I think this is a good representation of Bastila's outfit from KOTOR. her lightsaber looks how it looks in the game. The hilt definitely retains that. And even the pose is kind of evocative of how people use the Force in KOTOR. So not a lot of people might have noticed that detail, but like I did, because of course I did. And Astrodroid also asked, is the Bastila pop going to be the best pop or the greatest pop? The best and the greatest is my answer. I've been waiting for this pop forever. I think whenever we've mentioned toys before, I'm like, why isn't there a Bastila Shan Funko Pop? But now there finally is, so I'm excited about that. And then the Jedi Revan Funko Pop, I believe it was number 430. The lightsaber is like the purple trident one, and he's wearing his light-sided Starforge robes. And he has a mask, but the overall look is the light side. And what I noticed is this is a different pose from Darth Revan, so I did like that detail. Like, I have the Anakin Skywalker Funko Pop, which I think I've actually, if I haven't already used it in a post, I'm going to use it in a post in the future. But I kind of noticed the Darth Revan pose. It's a little bit like Anakin Skywalker's Funko from the Clone Wars, so I like that. I think it's good to embrace the light side, but also kind of leave an air of mystery of what Revan could look like. So overall, I'm a fan of the Starforge robes with the purple lightsaber, just kind of keep people guessing. And I'm just a fan of this exclusive. You have the First Force Dyad. They're on the same side. And I kind of like that yellow and purple lightsabers. They're kind of opposite colors, but they kind of go together. They're both on the light side. And I'm just happy about this box. 10% of my joy so far this year came from it. So, of course, I'm getting one for me. And I also got another box for a giveaway. And so did the future co-host. So keep your eye out for a giveaway in the future. And I've definitely noticed an uptick in KOTOR merchandise, and kind of re-listening to episode 60, I think this points to Aspire conducting a remaster of KOTOR, kind of like a 4K facelift of the same game, so look out for that. This is my speculation, but if I had to guess, if I were a guessing person, I'm saying I think we're getting a port to the PS4 and PS5, and more people are going to be playing KOTOR and KOTOR 2, so you want to have more merchandise, and I could definitely see with the High Republic more KOTOR content that's canon coming in the future. And then Ironic Designs asked, any more KOTOR Funkos announced? At the moment, no. But like I've said, I expect a couple more KOTOR Funkos and KOTOR 2 Funkos if KOTOR 2 gets remastered. And let's be real, it's going to be remastered. And I think most likely to be made into Funkos from KOTOR 2 is Darth Nihilus. Like, I would bet Republic credits, that Darth Nihilus is the first character to be realized as a KOTOR Funko, because he just has an iconic design. He's just the most popular character from KOTOR 2, I would say, design-wise. And then I would say Darth Traya and Darth Sion. But the ones I would most want are probably Kreia, Atten Rand, and Baodur. And even though, like, sometimes I'm not the biggest fan of Atten Rand's character, I think he has a great design. Even though it kind of is a little bit of a carbon copy of Han Solo's jacket, I think it's a good 4,000-year-old Han Solo design, And Baodur has a cool arm, and Kreia is probably, like, one of the best characters ever realized in a Star Wars story. And I kind of wonder if they're going to make a Jedi exile character, because I don't know, she's kind of had a few different faces. Because at first I think the one that was canonized in like an Essential Guide or something was more like an Asian face, and then in SWOTOR it was a blonde face, and I don't know, I didn't really like the look in SWOTOR as much, so I kind of hope they just do their own thing and kind of switch it up and don't use the blonde face. But no offense if you like the blonde face, that's just my opinion. Yeah, so this is kind of a shorter episode, but next week and in the coming weeks, we're going to make up for it, and I'll have a co-host again, and it'll be awesome. But you can find the Ebon Hawk on Instagram at Ebon Hawk Podcast, and the Ebon Hawk can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, as well as everywhere else that Anchor Podcasts are distributed. Subscriptions, reviews, and shares help us out immensely. And our intro and outro themes were composed by Alistair Sherman at alistairsounds.wixsite.com/alistairsounds. Our transition music was composed by Christian Walker at christianwalkermusic.com. This episode of the Ebon Hawk Podcast has been brought to you by Nikki Dog. May the Force be with you. We will be back soon. Bye for now.